In this video, I'm going to show you how to create a task list like this in Excel using the new checkbox feature. As I click through these checkboxes, the tasks strike out and you can see my progress in the tracker. Are you ready? I know I am, so let's go. For best results, I recommend that you convert your data set to a table. You can do this by selecting the data range. Then over here you've got Format as Table. Choose a color and then click OK to this. If you don't want this bright color, you can change it back to your original one. So I'm going to click here to go back to my rather plain black and white. To insert the checkboxes, go to Insert and then Checkbox, and that pops it in there. And then to copy it down, just put your mouse pointer here, double click, and it will copy it down for you. Now with these checkboxes, if I click on the checkbox, the state will change to true. If I deselect it, it will go to false, which is great to use with formulas and conditional formatting, which I will show you in a moment. With these checkboxes, you can also change the color. So if I select this range, and then go over to the Home tab, and then over here, it's just like changing a font color. So I could change it to red. But I'm just going to keep it as the normal black color. So I'm just going to click here. So next we're going to look at conditional formatting. So what I want to happen is when the checkbox is ticked, I want the text to be striked through and for the font color to change. So over here we've got conditional formatting. I want new rule. And I'm going to select use a formula to determine which cells to format. I click here and then I click the first checkbox, which is in B4. Now I want Excel to check each of these cells in this column, so I'm going to delete this dollar. In case you don't already know, the dollar sign locks in the cells, so I don't want the row number to be locked, but I do want the column to be locked, so that's why I've got the dollar in front of the B. Now I could type in equals true, but Excel does this by default anyway, so I don't really need this. So what this means is Excel will check if any of these checkboxes have been ticked, and if they are ticked, I want it to be striked through and for the font color to be green. So to do this, I go to Format, and then under the Font tab, I've got Strike Through. Let's just click it again to make sure the preview is striked through. And I want the color of the font to be green. To do this, I go to the color, and I'll choose my color. I want green. Click OK to this. And then OK to this one. How this will work: when I click a checkbox, the text is striked through and the font color is green. So let's look at the tracker now. So I'm going to start off by using a function called COUNTIF. And I want to count how many of these checkboxes are true. So first select the range, pop in a comma, and then type in true. Close the brackets and press enter. At the moment it's 0, but once I click one of these checkboxes, it will then go to 1 and so on. So at the moment it's just doing a count. Now to get the percentage, all I do is just click here, then after the bracket, I do divide. I'm dividing it by 10 because I've got 10 rows. Press enter. It's giving me a decimal number, but if I change the format into a percentage, there I have my percentage. And a good way to check is if I do half of these, it's 50%. Now the trouble with dividing by the row numbers like I have here is that if I add a new row, so I now have 11 rows, but if I go back to this tracker, it's still only showing 10. So it's only dividing it by 10. So that means my percentages will be wrong. To fix this is really simple. All I do is just click into here, delete the 10, and there's a function called rows. And all I do is select the range and then close the brackets, press enter. And now if I do all the checkboxes, it should equal 100%. The next thing we need to do is add our data bar. So to add a bit of color to this tracker. So to do this, we go to conditional formatting, and we want data bars, and then we just simply choose the color that we want. So I'm going to go for the green, That brings that in. And let's just reset these checkboxes. So you can do that by selecting the range and then pressing the space bar. And that just unchecks all of those. So the conditional formatting is not fully working at the moment. So as you can see, the data bar is just in full color. So what we need to do is, if I go back here, so what I need to do is select this cell, then go to conditional formatting, and let's go to manage rules. And we need to edit this one. So it's doing the color automatic. So all you need to do is just change this to number. And we're going to change this to 1. So 1 is the same as 100%. And I'm going to change this number, keep it as 0. So let's click OK to this. And then OK. So now that's 55%. So now the data bar is changing to the percentage. If you don't currently have this new checkbox feature, in a moment I'm going to show you an alternative. But first, why don't you have it? Well, currently it's only available to members of the Insider program. You can sign up and join for yourself if you like. Or sign up for my newsletter and I will tell you when it's publicly available. Let's look at the alternative. First, we need to add the developer tab. We do this by clicking here and then go into more commands. And then you want customize ribbon and select developer. This brings in the developer tab. Lots of different features here, but the one we're going to look at is the checkbox. So let's go to insert, and you want the checkbox that's under form controls. And this works like a shape. You could just click and that will bring it in, and then you can just move it into position. The next thing you need to do is remove this text. So you can do this just by right clicking, edit text, and then just delete that off. And then whilst you're here, you can resize it and then move it where you want it to be. Now, as it stands, it doesn't have the true false state like we have with these checkboxes, but there is a way that we can add it. To do this, we hold down the control key and then click the checkbox, and then we click into here, type equals, then click this cell, press enter, and press enter, and then what happens now, if I click the checkbox, it says true. If I deselect it, it says false. Now, annoyingly, it does it behind the checkbox, and we don't want to see it either, but it's really easy to change. We just click here and then go over to the Home tab and then change the font color to white. So once you've changed the font to white, up here it still says false, and if I click, it will change to true. So we can't see it in the cell, thankfully, but we do have it in this formula bar. The next thing you would need to do is repeat the process for each of these cells here. There's not a quick way to replicate this. If you found this video useful, please give it a like so it can reach more people. Thank you for watching.